we are live now. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. If I could have your attention, we need to do the Ways and Means bill introduction portion of the morning. I'm serious. Could I please have the attention of the Ways and Means members? Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order if it's possible. Thank you. So with that, we've established a quorum. I'll go ahead and call the Committee on Ways and Means to order. We have bill draft introductions to do this morning. I have BDR S 1061, makes an appropriation to the Office of the Secretary of State for the replacement of computer hardware and software. I have BDR 40-1093, revises provisions relating to environmental protection. BDRS 1112 makes an appropriation to the account for pensions for scoliosis, diseases related to asbestos and other disabilities. BDRS 1113 makes an appropriation to the Nevada Promise Scholarship account to support the Nevada Promise Scholarship Program. BDRS 1114 makes an appropriation to the Office of the State Controller for the replacement of printers. Makes an appropriation to the Aging and Disability Services Division of the Department of Health and Human Services for pavement maintenance at the Jones campus of the Desert Regional Center. BDRS 1133 makes an appropriation to the Division of Forestry of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for deferred maintenance projects. BDRS 1134 makes an appropriation to the Real Estate Division of the Department of Business and Industry for an upgrade in its licensing software system and replacement of computer hardware and software. And BDR 11-1068 revises provisions relating to workforce development. I have a motion for introduction from Vice Chair Monroe Moreno, a second from Assemblywoman Tolles. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. Call the roll. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing none, passes unanimously of the members present. I will adjourn the Committee on Ways and Means. Thank you all very much for your attention.
The assembly will come to order. The chief clerk will call the roll.
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson. Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. Assemblywoman Black. Assemblywoman Brown May. Assemblywoman Carlton. Assemblywoman Cohen. Assemblywoman Considine. Assemblywoman Dickman. Assemblywoman Duran. Assemblyman Ellison. Assemblyman Flores. Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblyman Hathan. Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblywoman Hardy. Assemblywoman Howdigi. Assemblywoman Kasama. Assemblywoman Krasner. Assemblyman Levitt. Assemblywoman Martinez. Assemblywoman Marzola. Assemblyman Matthews. Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblywoman Brittany Miller. Assemblyman C.H. Miller. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Assemblywoman Nguyen. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblyman Orritt-Licker. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Roberts. Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Assemblywoman Thomas. Assemblywoman Titus. Assemblywoman Tolles. Assemblywoman Torres. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Wheeler. Assemblyman Yeager. Speaker Frierson.
Here, Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the record reflect that we have 42 members present.
The record shall so reflect there are 42 members present. There is a quorum. The assembly will please rise for the prayer by Imam Abdel Aziz of the Northern Nevada Muslim community in Sparks.
In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful, most kind to his creation. He says, when my servants ask about me, I am indeed close, and listen to the prayers of each supplicant when he calls upon me. We pray to God for these dedicated elected officials. Grant them wisdom to make decisions wisely, with respect for each other's point of views. Help them overcome obstacles with your mercy and guidance. Give them the willpower to work together for the best interests of Nevadans. Amen.
Thank you. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order business 2, reading and approval of the journal.
Carson City, Monday, April 5th.
Mr. Speaker.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to dispense with further reading of the journal and authorize the Speaker and Chief Clerk to make necessary corrections or additions.
You heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. If I could ask members to make sure that you silence your computers and devices on the floor. We'll go to order business 4, reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Commerce and Labor, to which was referred Assembly Bill 308, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with recommendation. Do pass. Sandra Howdigi, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education, to which was referred Assembly Bill 206, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with recommendation. Do pass. Shannon Bilbray Axelrod, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Government Affairs, to which were referred Assembly Bills 1421, 111, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with recommendation. Amend and do pass as amended. Edgar Flores, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Growth and Infrastructure, to which will refer to Assembly Bill 118. Assembly Joint Resolution 7 has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with recommendation and do pass as amended. Danielle Monroe Moreno, Chair. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Health and Human Services, to which were referred Assembly Bills 138, 189, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with recommendation amended. Do pass as amended. Rochelle T. Wynn, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Health and Human Services, to which was referred Assembly Joint Resolution 1 is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation. Amended, do pass as amended. Rochelle T. Wynn, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary, to which were referred Assembly Bills 396-404 is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation. Do pass. And your Committee on Judiciary, to which were referred Assembly Bills 1764, 2325, 3260, 64, 107, 157, 202, 214 has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with a recommendation amended to pass as amended. Steve Yeager, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections, to which was referred Assembly Bill 302, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with a recommendation to pass. Brittany Miller, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections, to which was referred Assembly Bill 121, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with a recommendation amended to pass as amended. Brittany Miller, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections, to which was referred Assembly Joint Resolution 10, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with a recommendation amended to pass as amended. Brittany Miller, Chair. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Natural Resources, to which were referred Assembly Bill 7589, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with a recommendation amended to pass as amended. Howard Watts, Chair.
Order Business 7, messages from the Senate.
Senate Chamber, Carson City, April 6, 2021. To the Honorable the Assembly. I have the honor to inform your Honorable Body that the Senate on this day passed Senate Bill 74, 128, 204, 342, Senate Joint Resolutions 6 and 10. And I have the honor to inform your Honorable Body that the Senate on this day passed as amended Senate Bill 47. Chair Rodriguez, Assistant Secretary of the Senate.
We go to Order Business 8, motions, resolutions, and notices.
Assembly Joint Resolution Number 3, introduced by Assemblyman Gonzalez Cerro, Senator Doñate. Urging various actions relating to the protection and conservation of land and water. Resolved that this resolution becomes effective upon passage. End of resolution.
Assemblywoman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that to refer AJR 3 to your Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections.
Without objection, so referred. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just 1 minute recess.
1 minute recess. Assemblywoman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to remove my motion and actually move for an adoption of AJR 3.
We haven't taken action, so you can go ahead and move for adoption on the Order of Business 8.
So I move for an adoption of AJR 3.
Assemblywoman Miller has moved that the Assembly adopt Assembly Joint Resolution Number 3. Remarks? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Joint Resolution 6, introduced by the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections, urging the federal government to address the issue of spouses of members of the military losing retirement benefits due to frequent relocations by creating a retirement plan that is funded by the Department of Defense Appropriations Act.
Assemblywoman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we adopt SJR 6.
This will be a referral.
So we're shaking our head the wrong way. Okay, so I move that we refer SJR 6 to your Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections.
Assemblywoman has moved that the Assembly refer SJR 6 to the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Remarks, Assemblywoman Titus? I know.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. I had pushed my button to speak regarding AJR 3, and it was missed, so I have nothing on this particular one. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so the body knows, I didn't see, I saw Assemblywoman light up and then turn it off, which indicates to me that somebody changed their mind about speaking. So when I saw it go off, if you would like to address that under Order Business 15, I would recognize you to do so. Assemblywoman Miller has moved that the Assembly refer Senate Joint Resolution 6 to Legislative Operations and Elections. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Senate Joint Resolution 10, introduced by Senators Orenshaw et al., Assemblywomen Carlton and Martinez, urging Congress to protect the public lands, including and adjacent to Sunrise Mountain, Frenchman Mountain, and Rainbow Gardens.
Mr. Speaker.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Joint Resolution Number 10 be referred to your Committee on Natural Resources.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Notice of exemption, April 6, 2021. The Fiscal Analysis Division, pursuant to Joint Standing Rule 14.6, has determined the eligibility for exemption of Assembly Bill 358. Zarek Kaufman, Fiscal Analysis Division.
We'll now go to Order Business 9, Introduction, First Reading, and Reference Bills.
Assembly Bill 450, introduced by the Committee on Education, an act relating to workforce development, directing the Governor of the State of Nevada to appoint a committee to conduct an interim study concerning opportunities to align workforce training and programs offered by community colleges in the state and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 451, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making an appropriation to the Office of the Secretary of State for the replacement of computer hardware and software and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 452, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act relating to environmental protection, requiring certain agencies and entities to submit information to the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for purposes of the annual report that the department is required to prepare on greenhouse gases, authorizing money in the account for the management of air quality to be expended to pay the costs of preparing the annual report on greenhouse gases, requiring a transfer of certain money from the fund for cleaning up discharges of petroleum to the account for the management of air quality, and providing other matters properly thereto. Assembly Bill 453, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making an appropriation to the account for pensions for scoliosis, diseases relating to asbestos and other diseases, disabilities, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 454, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making an appropriation to the Nevada Promise Scholarship account to support the Nevada Promise Scholarship Program and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 455, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making an appropriation to the Office of the State Controller for the replacement of printers and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 456, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making an appropriation to the Aging and Disability Services Division of the Department of Health and Human Services for pavement maintenance at the Jones campus of the Desert Regional Center and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 457, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making an appropriation to the Division of Forestry of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for deferred maintenance projects and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 458, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act making an appropriation to the Real Estate Division of the Department of Business and Industry for an upgrade of its licensing software system and replacement of computer hardware and software and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 47, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs, an act relating to state securities revising provisions relating to the issuance of certain interim debentures to fund the general operations of the state, eliminating the expiration date of provisions authorizing the issuance of such interim debentures, making certain other temporary changes relating to state securities permanent, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 74, introduced by the Committee on Revenue and Economic Development, an act relating to taxation, clarifying that the population totals certified by the Governor annually are used in determining the allocation and deposit of proceeds of the basic city-county relief tax, revising provisions governing the population totals used in determining the distribution of certain taxes, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Senate Bill 128, introduced by Senators Dennis et al., Assemblyman Bill Brant Axelrod et al., an act relating to higher education, directing the state treasurer to conduct a study concerning the effectiveness of publicly funded scholarship and grant programs in the state, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Senate Bill 204, introduced by Senator Dennis, an act relating to motor vehicles, authorizing the Department of Motor Vehicles to issue a card, certificate, or license in electronic form, authorizing the department to establish an electronic branch office, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 342, introduced by the Committee on Education, an act relating to higher education, authorizing the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada to enter into an agreement to affiliate with a publicly or privately owned medical facility or related entity for certain purposes, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. Assembly Bill 459, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act relating to workforce development, moving the Office of Workforce Innovation from the Office of the Governor to the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation, providing that the Executive Director of the Office of Workforce Innovation and the State Apprenticeship Director are in the unclassified service of the state, and providing other matters properly laid thereto.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that all bills be referred to the committee as shown, including Assembly Bill 459 on Assembly Bill introductions April 8, 2021.
You heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go to Order Business 11, second reading and amendments.
Assembly Bill 84, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs and Act relating to wildfires, authorizing the state forester fire warden and to enter into certain public-private partnerships and providing other measures appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 119, introduced by Assemblyman Thomas et al., Senators Neal et al., an act relating to maternal health, revising the duties of the Maternal Mortality Review Committee and providing other measures appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
I have Amendment 34, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Health and Human Services.
Assemblywoman Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to adopt Amendment Number 34 to Assembly Bill 119.
Assemblywoman Wynn has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 34 to Assembly Bill 119. Remarks?
Yes, this amendment revises the duties of the Maternal Mortality Review Committee to identify and review disparities of the incidence of maternal mortality through certain analysis. It also requires the committee to collaborate with the Advisory Committee for the Nevada Office of Minority Health and Equity in developing its biennial report with certain exemptions. It makes the bill effective date upon passage and approval and also adds certain Assembly members as co-sponsors.
Are there any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 34 to Assembly Bill 119 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 156, introduced by Assemblyman Titus et al., an act relating to the Nevada National Guard, authorizing the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada to waive certain fees for a spouse or child of a member of the active Nevada National Guard who is re-enlisted under certain circumstances, requiring the Adjutant General to perform certain duties relating to waivers granted, assigned, or reassigned to members and eligible persons, and providing other matters appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 165, introduced by Assemblyman Hardy et al., Senators Beck et al., an act relating to veterans, removing the 5-year limitation on assessing certain tuition charges against honorably discharged veterans and providing other matters appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 217, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, an act relating to healthcare, requiring the State Board of Health to adopt regulations requiring unlicensed caregivers at designated facilities to receive certain training, requiring the person in charge of such a facility to perform certain duties relating to such training, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 19, end of Section 19, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 358, introduced by Assemblyman Frierson, an act relating to Medicaid, requiring the suspension rather than termination of eligibility for Medicaid of a person who is incarcerated, authorizing a person who is incarcerated in certain circumstances to apply for enrollment in Medicaid before he or she is released, revising the requirement for the Director of the Department of Corrections to complete the paperwork to enroll such a person in Medicaid, and providing other measures appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 4, end of Section 4, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 426, introduced by the Committee on Judiciary, an act relating to the protection of children, authorizing an agency which provides child welfare service or its designee to request a warrant to place a child in protective custody under certain circumstances, providing the requirements for notice given to certain persons of certain hearings, authorizing the Attorney General to sign a petition alleging that a child is in need of protection, making various other changes relating to the protection of children, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 12, end of Section 12, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 430, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, an act relating to disabilities, revising certain terms used to describe the provision of certain services to persons with intellectual disabilities and persons with developmental disabilities, removing related obsolete terms and providing other matters appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 4, end of Section 4, end of bill.
Are there any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
The bill is ordered to general file.
Mr. Speaker, order business 8.
Order business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As long as I'm already up, I move that Assembly Bill 86, 182, and 290 be moved to the next legislative day.
You heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under order of business number 8.
Order business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move that Assembly Bill 156, Assembly Bill 165, and Assembly Bill 358, currently on second reading, be referred to your Committee on Ways and Means.
Heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have another order business 8.
Notice of exemption, April 8, 2021. The Fiscal Analysis Division, pursuant to Joint Standing Rule 14.6, has determined the eligibility for exemption of Assembly Bills numbers 252, 276, 280, 315, 321, 341, 349, 353, 382, 383, 386, 387, 392, 411, 413, 418, 419, 429, 432, 445, 446, and Assembly Joint Resolutions numbers 13 and 15. Sarah Kaufman, Fiscal Analysis Division.
We'll now go to order business 15, remarks. Assemblywoman Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my apologies for not getting this out sooner under when we voted on AJR 3, because I'm rising in opposition of AJR 3. AJR 3 was introduced into the Nevada Legislature expressing the same goal for Nevada's land and water resources equal to an executive order signed by our new administration shortly after taking office. Members of this body, the National Park Service was created in 1916 with a mission to conserve the scenery and the natural and historic objects and the wildlife therein, and to provide for the enjoyment of the same in such manner and by which means as we will leave them unimpaired for the enjoyment of future generations. The NPS manages over 80 million acres. The United States Forest Service was created in 1905. The top priority of this agency was to maintain and improve the health, diversity, and productivity of the land in its portfolio. The USFS manages about 190 million acres. In 1946, the Bureau of Land Management was created. It oversees a function of 245 million acres with a mission to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of public lands. These three agencies are charged with sustaining, maintaining, and preserving over 515 million acres of land. In other words, protecting the land. Members, there is approximately 674 million acres of land under government authority, if you include Indian reservations and military operations, and theoretically protected by the United States. In total, there is 1.9 billion acres of land in the United States. Therefore, already 35% of land is under government control. I would argue it all depends on how protection is defined and to determine whether we have already reached the 30-30 goal. Tellingly, neither the executive order nor did the AJR 3 that was just passed define protection, which leaves open a great subjective debate. The fundamental issue is what needs protection and what is already protected. Every school child in Nevada knows that 80% of our land is controlled by the federal government. There are 70 million acres of land in our borders. This means 56 million acres are already controlled by a government and not in private land hands. Assuming you can do the math, we have well over 30% of our land already protected by the government. Are these acres, the 30-acre percent, who's going to calculate that? What lands are going to be taken into consideration? To the President's order directs the federal agencies to designate land protection, but it's unclear what land they're talking about. I would ask, is the 30 by 30 a catchy political slogan or is it a real goal? And if so, how do you square the goal with the reality of land protection that I've already outlined? It is not, or is it not a well-described plot to grab more private property for public use? I would have urged everybody to vote no on AJR 3. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Nguyen.
Order of Business 15.
Order business 15.
At this time, I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge that tomorrow, unfortunately, will be the last day of work for my hardworking Health and Human Services Committee Manager, Abigail Lee. While I am just devastated that she's leaving, I am so excited that she will be beginning a new adventure with her spouse and sons. She has been a irreplaceable part of our team this session, and she has shared the joy with everyone that she has worked with. I would like to invite everyone to give her a round of applause to Miss Abigail Lee and wish her the best in this building.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Order of Business 15.
Order of Business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to wish my attaché, Avi, a happy birthday today. Many of you know him. Today is his birthday. If you haven't had a chance to wish him a happy birthday, would you please stop by and wish him happy birthday sometime today? And if we could give him a round of applause, please.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have another important birthday to acknowledge today. Our own media clerk, Juliana McManus, is celebrating a big birthday today. I won't say the age because it'll just, we want to let that keep secret, but not quite 30. One more year until the big 3-0, so live it up. Round of applause for her.
As someone who just turned 31 this year, I have advised her to stay in her 20s as long as she can. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seeing no other business before us right now, lots of business before committees, but seeing no other business before us, I would move that the Assembly stand adjourned until Friday, April 9th, 2021 at the hour of 11:30 a.m.
You've heard the motion. Everybody, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.